Jay, we see a lot of what I call self-made millionaires speaking against college education and getting a degree. As a person who's college educated, do you believe that college education is now becoming obsolete?
No, hell no, man. People I always talk about leadership, and the proper leadership is, not trying to make people into you. You know what I mean? I don't know too many self-made millionaires or not so much self-made millionaires, but the billionaires and like that don't send their kids to college just because they didn't have to go to college. They don't never be like, oh well, I ain't had to go to college, so you don't go to college. You know what I'm saying? Like college was something that was created. It wasn't created for you. Higher education in this country, especially, wasn't created for us at first, and so as Black people, and so we don't know how to use the tool. We just think that if we go to college, we'll get a good job, and that's totally obsolete, and that's not true. But college still can be utilized to actually grow your station in life, grow in your career, and all of that stuff if we learn the system, or create our own system. So what do I mean by that? All right, think about our athletes. For a long time, they was just trying to get our athletes to go to these major colleges, and a lot of them couldn't go because of the grades, or they got caught in a scandal because somebody was doctoring their grades, or they didn't get the right education, and so because people was pushing them through because they were good at basketball or football or whatever they chose a sport, and all these crappy things so they can get to these major schools. When you had these smaller HBCUs that some of them would have been a little bit cheaper to go to, a lot cheaper to go to. They got the nurturing, the education, and they'd been able to play all the basketball, football they wanted to play, but that wasn't the case. Then you still have, now the next example is you see somebody that's an artist, and you say, oh, we'll go to college. Like, no, that's probably not the best place for them to go, because if it's no strict concentration on the art that person performs, then you should be sending them to a place where it does. So maybe it's a 2-year organization, because people who are properly trained in something are way better, far better than the people who are not. I spent 10 years of my life as a photographer, and I did phenomenal work. But I've seen people who went to school for photography do light years better work than me. Now, they weren't better business people than me, and that's not because of the school. That wasn't because of of the training. That was because they just didn't learn business. But that they were way better artists than I was, and so they were able to do things that I couldn't even imagine doing because I didn't have the knowledge. Another thing, they walked out with a more of a wealth of knowledge than I did when it comes to having a community. When you're around other artists that work on a high level, and you're trained by other artists or other people that's on a high level, you're able to go and do more and push harder and go further in life. When you're trying to do your own thing, that's why a lot of those people don't survive in their business or going to do what they do. Yeah, we can keep talking about the lottery ticket and keep talking about the chosen 10 or 15 or 20, or even if it can be 20,000. 20,000 to 400 million is a small number of people. So stop telling our people that don't go to college, don't get education, because if you do it, then it's going to be obsolete. No, that's not what it is. Teach them how to do things properly, or create avenues, educational avenues, so that they can be educated properly, and so the things that we want to happen can happen for our community. Make sure that when they go into school, they want to be a doctor, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant. These things you need to go to school for. But if they just want to be a truck driver, then they don't have to go to school for that. Stop trying to just put them in and saying college is going to fix everybody's problem. That's not what it is. College is not there for that. It's for higher education. And that kid is not a straight A student or AB student, then you don't want to put them in college. That's not the place for them to wait and try to become a straight A student. They want to be college prepared. This is why you have these tests like the SAT said and the ACT, for them to see if they're prepared for higher learning in that capacity. No learning is better than self-learning. Self-education is the best. But if you want a certain type of career, college is the path. It just is. But stop just putting a whole blanket over saying college is obsolete. It's not. People have met their spouses there, friends for life, mentors that they still have. How many people are big time New York lawyers that always seeking advice from Harvard Law School that they graduated from, going back and forth and talking to their professors. We always get 5 or 10 people to do something without going to college or without some way, and the next thing you know, it's obsolete. You don't have to do it. And you watch how many of those people fall by the wayside. For every 5 that won, it's 500 or 5,000 that's failing. That's not a good ratio. We have to stop trying to do this lottery ticket thing. We got to start saying, what's best for me? What's best for my family? Can I afford $20,000 a year for my kid? Well, I can't. Okay, so what do I need to do? How can I do it? Do I need to put them in a tech school or a local community college so that can, it's a little cheaper? Again, because it's still education. A lot of the community colleges, don't go to that. That's a waste of time. No. It's still education. But also it puts you in a situation where your kid can go to the next college for way cheaper than they would have been able to go if they went as a freshman. And then you do your part by saving your bread so you can pay for them. And more importantly, they do their part by getting the proper grades, because then at that point they get scholarships. And so it makes college 10 times easier and less expensive for them and for you as a parent, so they can actually get it. But stop sending your kids to college as a fix-all. If they're not college prepared, and they don't want to do something that you have to go to college to do, like be an educator, be an accountant, be a lawyer, a doctor, dentist, engineer, something along those lines, then they don't need to go to college. They can send them to a 2-year school for them to go ahead and get their cosmetology license. You can send them to whatever they want to do, you can send them to it. If you want to be an artist, they have those schools specifically for artists. Send them there. But make sure that they're prepared, so they're not screwing up your money and bullshitting around with your time. Kids tell us who they are and what they want to do way before we send them off to college. They should show them. Now, yes, some of us have figured it out while we're in college, but that's a very, very expensive learning curve to figure it out while you're there. So make sure that you know the plan for your child and that they know the plan for them. So when they do finally go to college, they're not sitting there bullshitting around with your money in their time. Let them go in there and get focused and get right to it. But college is not obsolete. Education is not obsolete. It can be tweaked tremendously, but it's definitely not obsolete.